And now for our next news special report.
Have we reached a point where mainstream media blindly promotes terrorist propaganda? A recent Gaza hospital explosion has brought to light an alarming trend. Some major networks have been too quick to accept the claims of Hamas without due diligence. As tensions escalate, the media's role in shaping public opinions is undeniable. Are we being misled by those trusted to inform us? Stay with us for an in-depth analysis of how CBS and other outlets responded to the Gaza incident, and trust me, you don't want to miss our final thought on why every American needs to be vigilant about where they get their information. Over the past 24 hours, the media landscape has been ablaze with reports and speculation surrounding an explosion at a Gaza hospital. And this is where things take a problematic turn. The liberal media, without adequate verification, was quick to push allegations made by Hamas, suggesting that this devastating event was due to an Israeli airstrike. This claim comes in spite of video evidence indicating the blast was likely the result of an errant rocket from Gaza. Yet CBS Evening News appeared to lean in favor of these unsubstantiated claims. Nora O'Donnell, the anchor for CBS Evening News, began her segment on the matter with a tone of despair. She commented on the explosion and how it destroyed the hope that President Biden's visit to Israel could offer solace to the people of Gaza. What's even more perplexing is her insinuation that Israel was attempting to absolve itself of responsibility, citing their evidence suggesting the explosion was the consequence of a failed rocket launch by Islamic Jihad. One might wonder, why did she drop Palestinian from the group's name? Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Take a look.
We begin tonight with the breaking news that is reverberating around the world. When President Biden announced his trip to the Middle East, there was hope that his meetings with both Israeli and Arab leaders could result in relief to Gaza and the release of American hostages. Tonight, that hope has faded. We're learning new details tonight about an explosion at a hospital in Gaza City. The Palestinian Health Ministry saying hundreds of people were killed and many more injured. Take a look at some of these images. Women and children in the aftermath waiting for treatment, terrified. The hospital just hit and overwhelmed. Now, Hamas is blaming an Israeli airstrike, but Israel is denying responsibility, saying their intelligence shows it was caused by a failed rocket launch by the group Islamic Jihad. Throughout this conflict, civilians have taken refuge around hospitals and schools in hopes of avoiding the near constant airstrikes from above. And tonight, that safety shattered.
This form of reporting not only misguides the public, but it also pours gasoline on an already raging fire. Emmanuel Fabian, a military correspondent from the Times of Israel, has collected multiple videos seemingly confirming that a rocket attack was indeed in progress, with an errant rocket subsequently plummeting into Gaza at the approximate time and location of the hospital's explosion. You can see here on the screen the rockets going up, and then watch towards the center. You'll see the hospital explosion as it happens. Clearly a result of that rocket firing. Just like how misinformation can cripple our understanding, did you know that the body loses 5 to 10% of lean muscle mass every decade after turning 30? This deterioration is akin to the decline of truthful reporting in some major media outlets, and just like our muscles, our trust in media is waning as many rejuvenate their muscles with new products like the ones that I've come across. It's time to rejuvenate our faith in truthful reporting. This product with 4 science-backed ingredients combats age-related muscle and strength loss, and you can get 41% off this month until stock runs out at gainwithgary.com. Simply tap more below for details. Now back to the matter at hand. Diagata from CBS went on to allow Hamas, an unchecked platform, to accuse both Israel and the U.S. of tragedy. Moreover, he mentioned countries such as Egypt, Qatar, Iran, Jordan, and Turkey condemned the alleged airstrike, but context is everything. It's an open secret that these countries have a history of animosity towards Israel. Now, his framing of Israel appeared biased, tying the hospital explosion to other Israeli airstrikes and depicting scenes of misery and bloodshed, but the narrative lacks balance. It fails to recognize that the Israeli Defense Forces constantly warn civilians to evacuate areas prior to a strike, whereas Hamas has been documented advising the contrary. The media's inclination to rush judgments was even noted by Jeremy Bash, MSNBC's national security analyst. Bash, a former Democrat and CIA official, criticized the media for what he put as breathlessly word-for-word echoing Hamas propaganda that the Gaza hospital destruction was due to an Israeli airstrike. This on MSNBC of all places. Watch.
Now, to Ben's point, the reaction on the Arab street is a critical factor that's playing out at this hour. But why was there this reaction on the Arab street? It's because for some reason the news media ran out there and took the word lock, stock, and barrel of a Hamas ministry spokesperson that, of course, it was an Israeli airstrike before there was any evidence. Now, I agree. At this hour, we don't know. The IDF has put out a radar track showing that the missile from Islamic Jihad flew right over the hospital. They also say that there's a SIGINT intercept of Islamic Jihad fighters talking about firing this rocket. So we don't have the evidence, and I take the point earlier, we may never know. But the fact that it was reported breathlessly, word for word from Hamas, which obviously has no credibility. I mean, they told Richard Engel they'd release the hostages if there was no airstrikes within 1 hour. Your reporter just gave a setup piece in which she said there's been no airstrikes here for 3 hours. So where are the hostages? They're nowhere to be found. So I don't think we can credit Hamas. I think this is a dicey situation. I credit the president for going, and hopefully they'll be calm. Hopefully there'll be humanitarian relief inside the southern part of the Gaza Strip, and the U.S. can kind of transmit a message of strength and resolute support for Israel at this time.
It's a serious concern when even insiders from the media industry begin to question the reliability and credibility of their own peers. Bash rightly pointed out that for some inexplicable reason, major news outlets rush to adopt Hamas narrative without concrete evidence. His sentiments resonate with many. Media outlets either exhibit an anti-Israel bias or aim to project a misguided sense of neutrality, inadvertently propagandizing terrorist propaganda. Furthermore, recent imagery from the blast site has emerged suggesting inconsistencies with an airstrike. Shashank Joshi, the Economist defense editor, commented on how the damage wasn't aligned with claims of over 500 casualties or an airstrike. What's even more worrying is the ripple effect. Misinformation fuels public sentiment, shaping narratives and influencing foreign policy. With a majority of people dependent on the media for accurate updates on international events, such misreporting can have devastating consequences. And during a recent BBC interview, Israeli Defense Force spokesman Jonathan Conricus criticized the network and some of its reporters for what he perceives as an increasing pro-Hamas bias. He expressed concern over media outlets echoing unverified information from Hamas. Disturbed by the perceived reporting disparities, he highlighted an instance where the BBC swiftly attributed a Gaza hospital explosion to Israel based on Hamas claims. Watch this.
I listened into your correspondent, to Jeremy Bowen's report, where he says with absolute security and drama that this was an Israeli missile. What was that based on?
Well, I think,
by Hamas?
in fairness, Lieutenant, I think he says there was claim and then counterclaim, and I think that is what he set out in the video.
He said in the beginning, a missile strikes the hospital. He begins very dramatically, and missiles...
But he puts the IDF's denials in it, and he says, and I can remember the line, he says, which people in the Arabic world will not believe. He's putting the claim and the counterclaim. Look, right. I mean, the point... The point...
claiming that it was a missile based on Hamas information. He hasn't been on the ground. He hasn't verified it himself. He's taking Hamas information and displaying that as the truth.
Okay.
It's not just about misinformation. It's about media responsibility. The media holds tremendous power, not only in how it reports the news, but how it shapes public sentiment. When one major network reports erroneously, many others often follow suit, resulting in a cascading effect of misguided narratives. History is filled with instances where such narratives have paved the way for confrontations, inflamed tensions, and sparked conflicts. Given the delicacy of the Israel-Palestine relationship, the media's role is especially critical. The public deserves to be informed with the most accurate representation of events, stripped of biases or preconceived notions. As we wind down this analysis, it's essential to note that every media house should not be painted with the same brush. However, the recent trends of certain outlets picking sides without substantial evidence underscores the necessity for the public to question, validate, and seek multiple sources for their information. This isn't just a debate on Israel versus Hamas. It's a reflection on the media's duty to provide reliable news, their ability to sway public sentiment, and the ramifications of their choices. As the adage goes, with great power comes great responsibility. It's high time the media outlets realize and act upon this principle. In a rapidly changing digital age, the lines between facts and fiction can blur quickly. As witnessed in the Gaza hospital explosion debacle, the media's role in shaping narratives is more critical than ever before. But with this power comes a monumental responsibility to inform the public accurately and fairly. CBS handling the situation serves as a stark reminder that even well-established media houses can err in their judgment, and when they do, the ramifications are felt far and wide. Misinformation, when spread, can fuel animosity, spark conflict, and deepen divides. The public places immense trust in the media, and while it's essential for consumers of news to approach everything critically and seek out diverse sources, the onus of responsibility lies heavily on the media. It's a sacred duty to inform without bias, to research meticulously, and to present a well-rounded picture. Let us hope that this incident serves as a wake-up call for all media outlets. In times of crisis and conflict, their role is not just to report the news, but to build bridges of understanding, foster empathy, and pave the way for peace.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Now keep up your quest for truth with this next news report. And if you found our channel enlightening, join the millions who agree with you. Tap subscribe. Thank you for watching the Next News Network.